Hi there, friends. In any faculty search, fit to the department is a top priority because the goal of the hiring process is to fill a certain gap in the department, but also to make the department as a whole better. Once you've made it to the interview, you have convinced people that you have the right track record for this position. And now it's more about, will you really be a good fit? And this is why it's so important to really nail the answer to this question during the interview. It is guaranteed to come up in some form or another. Now, the bad news is this takes a lot of work to do well. But the good news is that it will come up in at least 2 points in the interview. One, at the very end of your research seminar, you will have at least one slide where you outline the potential links with people in the department, and it will also for sure come up in a detailed question during the closed door, basically, interview with the search committee. So at least you can use the information that you have worked out in 2 points in the interview. And here are some pointers for you. The first point is do your research. There is no substitute for just putting in the time, going to the website of that school and department or college or whatever the unit is that wants to hire you, and to just find out what they're all about. Carefully study the faculty that are there. What are they doing? What's their research all about? But then also look at broader initiatives that the department is currently doing or that they want to do, and whatever else you can find out from the website. Maybe they are in the process of starting up some center, or they have recently set up some center, and maybe you can fit in that. Or is the department somehow part of a larger initiative on that campus? Are there other units on campus outside of that particular department that could also be interesting for you? These are all important to find out about by going to the website. And what's even better is if you have any connection whatsoever to that institution, I think it's really worthwhile just getting on the phone, calling them up, and finding out if there is anything going on that you should be aware of. The second point is be creative and look for deeper connections. The first reflex you may have is, like, for example, if you work on plants, you would look for other people that work on plants and say, like, well, you can work with them because they also work on plants. That may make sense, but maybe you can also think of other connections in other ways. You can connect with people in terms of not just study organisms, but also in terms of methods and approaches or study systems. So maybe you can come up with different connections that are not the obvious ones. So don't stay superficial. Be a bit creative and see if you can't make some links that really do make sense. When you do, then make sure you name the people, not just the topics, so it's quite specific. So I can work with the lab of Professor X, not just with, I can work with people working on plant molecular biology. Third point, and I think a lot of people overlook that, is don't just focus on your own needs. Of course, they want you to be successful there, so it is fine to look for connections that fulfill a certain research collaboration need that you will have, but you should keep in mind that collaboration goes both ways. So maybe you can think of something that another lab might find quite useful, and maybe you can offer that. That would, of course, be great. In all of this, it's important to stay real. So don't just make up stuff for the sake of having a list of things to rattle off during the interview. Make sure that these are really meaningful connections that you have thought a little bit about. So who would you likely really collaborate with? Naming too many people may make it not believable. So perhaps just have a list of maybe 5 or so people that you could really deeply connect with, and then have a bunch of other people that you could also envision working with. And it's a good strategy, at least during your talk, that you don't want to exclude anybody. You can say that these are just the connections you could currently come up with, but that doesn't mean you're not open to collaborating with other folks. Think of larger collaborative projects. Many universities are very interested in people that are sort of polyvalent and that could also envision leading a larger research initiative, whatever that funding instrument is in a particular country. So can you come up with a suitably broad research topic that unites a bunch of the researchers in the department and slightly beyond that department underneath that umbrella? That would be great to know, and it is very important to think about those ahead of time. If you have such an idea, and I really think it's important to think about those ahead of time, make sure you have that written down someplace as specifically as you can, because it makes you really come across as somebody who thinks about how they can move that place forward. Also ask yourself, could you really lead such an initiative if you were to be hired there? And what would that entail? Perhaps it's also good to think about if you could add to the critical mass of a certain initiative that somebody else leads. That's of course also fine. You don't necessarily have to lead everything. Yeah? But maybe you will have one idea for a topic that's broad enough that you can you reunite a bunch of people under that particular topic, but there's very many other ones that you might be contributing to. And I think the more specific you become about that point, the better it will be for you. And if you really can come up with a specific research idea for such a collaborative project involving a number of PIs at that department, then at least be ready to answer if you have at least a general area where you could envision leading such a project, such as soil ecology or plant ecology or something like this. But of course, it's way better if you had thought ahead a little bit and thought of a more specific topic that you could lead. Teaching is also, of course, usually going to be a part of your assignment, even though the focus is going to often be in these discussions on research. But if you can contribute to the teaching program of this department in specific ways, that would be important to also weave into your answer. And in order to do that well, you would have to at least know what kind of degrees the department offers, like what bachelor, master's, and PhD degrees are offered that you could contribute to, and how exactly would that contribution be like. For example, are there specific specialized courses that you could offer that nobody else does, or could you contribute and team teach some broader courses with other faculty? Now, in addition to research and teaching, service is also another component of a faculty appointment, and it is usually not coming up a lot during the faculty search process, but if you see a particular committee or a particular administrative structure that you would like to be involved in because you have unique background to do so, then I think it would also be good to have that point ready for the interview for when it comes up, because this signals your readiness to also carry the weight in this particular aspect of your appointment. So I think it's good. And finally, is there some broader institutional mission of, for example, like the entire university that you could align with, whatever that is? Maybe that institution is all about serving a particular part of the population, like a rural population or a certain minority or whatever the case may be. Then it's important to know about it and to see if you could somehow align yourself with that goal. This is, of course, going to be less important than the fit to the specific department that hires you. But if there is such a broader mission of the institution as a whole, then I think it would be good for you to know ahead of time and to think how you could fit and align with that particular role. So this is it. I hope it will help you prepare for your interview. I do realize this is a lot of work, and actually this is when I have interviewed for faculty positions, have spent most of my time on exactly these points, because they are not so general. They're not going to be useful often in another interview at another institution, so you have to make that particular piece of work just for that institution that you're applying for. That's a lot. We all have limited time, but I think it's gonna pay off in the end. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. And if you have any additional points, please add them in the comments. Bye.